Guten Morgen, Deutsch 2. This is Herr D, and this is a PowerPoint tutorial for you that will also include a couple extra pages in here. I will have this available on Moodle for you, as you can see, as well as the PowerPoint by itself. So just kind of briefly going through some of the things that we've covered so far. The primary focus of this one is going to be more on the separable prefixes and also the prepositions mit and bei, since we've already covered the majority of this in class. So just to review the dative verbs briefly, and here's an example of only 5 of them. Recall in the textbook you'll see a larger list, and so just looking through these: antworten, danken, gehören, gratulieren und helfen. Okay, and with examples. Warum antwortest du mir nicht? Ich danke dir. Das Buch gehört mir. Ich gratuliere Ihnen, Frau Ziegler. Und kannst du mir bitte helfen? Pardon that little message there. So what we have to do is try to figure out what the dative pronouns are going to be. We already know what they are in the nominative case. Ich, du, sie, sie, es, wir, ihr, and sie. So the first person would be mir, second person dir. Okay. The formal sie is going to change to Ihnen, which you can see right here with Frau Ziegler. Remember, if you're referring to someone by their first name, by Mr. or Mrs., Frau or Herr, we're going to be using the formal with that one. If we're just talking about them, you have to be careful. If we're just talking about them as if they're not there, then we're using the third person, he or she, er or sie. So it does change. Okay. Third person he is going to be ihm, and then for third person she is going to be ihr. Us is uns, and y'all is euch. Okay, we can review that in class because I want to move forward with this. The two case prepositions, recall that these answer either wo or wohin, and if it's wohin, it's going to be accusative. Just think of wohin gehst du or wo gehst du hin? Where are you going? If there's any kind of movement, action, it's always going to be accusative. Okay, location is going to ask wo. So the concentration for this chapter is going to be dative wo. Okay, so that's going to be the focus. So don't try to worry too much about the wohin accusative quite yet. Okay, we'll get to more examples of that. So for example, wo. Das Buch liegt auf dem Tisch. Okay, the book is lying on the table. All right. So here's a list of the two case prepositions: an, auf, hinter, in, neben, über, unter, vor und zwischen. Okay? And then some examples differentiating the accusative and the dative. Remember, the focus again, all right? Die Vase steht auf dem Tisch, der Teppich liegt vor der Couch, der Kalender hängt an der Wand. Okay? So review these 3 verbs: stehen, liegen, hängen, and commit them to memory. As we went over yesterday, directions in, auf versus nach and zu. Okay? Some of these can be somewhat confusing, so for now, the best thing to do is just to memorize them. Wir fahren dieses Wochenende in die Alpen. Right? In is also used if you're going to the movies, ins Kino, into a cafe or a restaurant, ins Café, ins Restaurant, or if you're going out to a concert, a theater, right, or to the opera, ins Konzert, ins Theater, in die Oper. You can kind of see a theme there, right? Going out to be entertained, right? In die Disco if you're going to the disco, in die Kneipe if you're going to the pub, all right? So just think if you're going out for beverages, drinks, coffee, or to see a show, you're going to be using in, okay? And also, normally we use nach when we're traveling to a country, but there are the group of countries, die Schweiz, die Türkei, der Lebanon. When the country includes an article, right? Die USA, for example, you're going to use in. we use auf, okay, when we're taking care of business. Auf die Post, auf die Bank, auf den Markt. Alright, to the marketplace, bank, post office. Alright, and then here are our nach Berlin, nach Bayern, nach Canada, nach Europa. Alright, city, state, country, continent, and what is left off of this list is nach Hause, to go home, right? Zu Hause is going to be at home, so that is kind of the rare exception. Zu, used for other ones, zum Bahnhof, zur Uni, zum Supermarkt, zu Zieglers. So recall that zu is by itself a dative preposition. So zu dem Bahnhof, zu der Uni, zu dem Supermarkt. Okay, so the article needs to reflect the dative change for that object. Alles klar. And then also the plural. Wir gehen morgen zu meinen Großeltern. Right? Dative plural changes to den. If it's a possessive adjective such as mine, dein, okay, it's going to be meinen, deinen, unseren, euren, ihren, seinen. Okay? And here are some examples that we did in class yesterday. And those are fill in the blank that I'll fill in automatically when you go through. So just to move forward to the separable prefix verbs. This again we previewed yesterday. We should have a basic understanding of how we're doing this. Remember, the verb, the root of the verb, is going to be conjugated depending on the subject. So ich gehe, du gehst, sie gehen, er geht, wir gehen, ihr geht heute Abend aus. Okay? Ich will, du willst, sie wollen, er will, sie will, wir wollen, ihr wollt heute Abend ausgehen when using a modal verb. Okay? And if we're negating, I'm not going out tonight. Ich gehe heute Abend nicht aus. Ich will heute Abend nicht ausgehen. Okay? So here it is, the first example without the modal verb. It precedes the prefix. And in the second one, the modal verb is conjugated. Infinitive ausgehen to the end, preceded by nicht. Now, the perfect tense. Recall that the perfect tense, okay, is the conversational past tense. Was hast du gestern gemacht? What did you do yesterday? Okay? So here, ich gehe auch mit, present tense. Perfect tense, and this is the focus of the perfect tense with the separable prefix verbs, right? So, was hast du gestern gemacht, right? The ge there is at the beginning of the word. Well, when we have a separable prefix, it needs to be integrated in between the prefix and the root. Okay? Ich bin auch mitgekommen. Okay? And go to some examples here. We need to differentiate when we're using sein as the auxiliary verb and when we're using haben. Okay? And actually what I'm going to do is there's going to be a second part to this video. Alright? You'll see that in the next example. So this is going to relate to an assignment that you're going to have over the weekend. So aufwachen, ankommen, ausgehen, zurückkommen. Can you guess which auxiliary verb, haben or sein, is used for those? And then aufräumen, fernsehen, einkaufen. Which auxiliary verb, haben or sein, is used for those? Let's go back to mit and bei. Okay? And then in the next video too, I'm going to show you some examples from the book that I want you to consider. Okay, so mit, with, and bei can also mean with, okay? But it can also mean at or near. For example, die Frau mit dem eleganten Kleid ist da. Okay? Wir sind mit dem Zug nach Stuttgart gekommen. Manfred arbeitet bei der Bank. Wir waren gestern bei meiner Tante. Und Potsdam ist bei Berlin. Okay, so here are just some examples of how those would translate into English. So have a look at those, and again you can review this individually and independently as a PowerPoint in Moodle. Danke und bis bald.